Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Taylor from Taylor's Kitchen, and this, I guess, we could call my first full-length YouTube video. I'm going to be remaking one of the most popular videos that I created for TikTok, and it's the mushroom toast. If you've already seen it, then I think you know you're in for a treat. I've tweaked this a little so you can see something different. But for those of you that have not seen it, let me catch you up to where I am now. At this point in the process, we have our mushrooms cleaned and rinsed. These are baby Bella mushrooms. And I've already added some salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and dried parsley. You may have just noticed that I added some extra virgin olive oil, and now I'm stirring it up to try to coat the mushrooms. Now I'll start to slice and dice our copa, which is basically going to act as a alt bacon in this recipe. I don't want to tell that to my wife though, because she swears by bacon's only a breakfast food, but that's another story for another video. Anyway, back to this. So I take my time when I slice rolled meats. That is not a joke or a pun, that is truth. Because when you go to slice rolled meats, you can hurt yourself very, very easily. You can also miss pieces, and so just be diligent. Now, obviously, I've sped this up into a faster speed. Now, moving on to garlic, I'm going to flick that sucker away, and then look at these little babies that shoot out. So it took me kind of an excessively long amount of time to prep my garlic this time, but it's just fun. And so as I continue with the garlic preparation, I'm getting to the point where I can smush, and there we go. Look at that, smush it up. And then I'm going to clean the garlic. We won't bore you with that process, but I'll go ahead and get ready to chop. I'll run the blade across this pile 3 or 4 times to bring it down to almost a mince, and then we'll move on to that onion. Now, this is a really, really pretty onion. It happened to be almost purple, even though it's a Vidalia, so coincidence? I don't know. Take your time when you're cutting up your onion. The main thing you want to do is walk away with the same number of fingers you started with. Fortunately, I still have 10, but at any time, that could go wrong. So notice that I really, really take my time here. This is actually sped up to 2 or 3 times, so this is much, much faster than the way that I was doing it. Notice I do 1 blade slice across when I'm preparing to dice onion. If you try to go back forward with your blade, that's where you can start spreading or fanning your onion out, and you can cause yourself to cut yourself. And so don't do that. Now, with that being done, we're going to move on to the most gorgeous orange pepper I have cut up in probably at least 2 weeks. And so I was excited to be able to run this across. Now you notice my 2 fingers do a little bit of a dance, but I keep my knuckles forward, and I do that to make sure I don't lose my fingertips. After a successful slice and dice on our veg, we're going to move it to the heat. We got our griddler cooked up here at about medium high, maybe a little less. I'm going to throw those onions down first, let them get a little grizzle sizzle. We've got our speed here at 5 times, so just showing that I'm moving around the onions as I saute. Take your time here. Don't lose sight of what you're doing on a hot plate ever. And we're going to move on to some mushrooms. These mushrooms started to smell fantastic because if you've been following from the very beginning of the video, you know that they're covered in some salty de pepe, garlic powder, onion powder, and parsley. They've been sitting in that olive oil, and then I'm going to add a little more olive oil here on the back. Apologies for you not being able to see that drop of olive oil as well as it should have been. And in fact, my wife told me, hey, I think you missed that, but I still wanted to at least add it so I could remind you that you want to drop extra olive oil on the shrooms. Dropping our orange pepper now, and then that garlic. We're going to let this sit for just a little bit, and I actually like to keep things segregated here as I add salt and pepper and any other dried spices I might want to add to further the deliciousness of this mushroom toast. So now I just tend to mix things around because I've got a little bit of an issue with standing still. While this simmers, I'd like to remind you that we are now on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and of course we've got our website at taylors-kitchen.com. Now back to this because you don't want to hear me advertise a bunch of crap. So at any rate, no, but in all seriousness, yeah, get on it. Okay, we're going to drop some of that copa now. Remember, we safely chopped that earlier. And by safely chop, I mean I still have all 10 of them. And you're just going to let this sit. It's going to crisp up a little bit. You know, I tend to leave it alone while I'm doing my bread and getting my toasted situation going with my vegetables. And then I'll mix that up. Make sure you're just not burning bottoms here, folks. Now with that olive oil that you added on top of those shrooms earlier, you're going to soak it up with your couple of pieces of toast. And I'm just really kind of moving things around, a little food Tetris here to free up areas that are saturated in olive oil. And now that I've got my toast a little bit covered in oil, I'm going to start to add those shrooms, and really the shrooms veg mixture to be specific. And then I've got some Gouda here that I've previously shredded, and I'm going to throw that on top, liberally on one piece of toast, a little less liberally on the other. And then I'm going to drop some 4-state cheddar onto one of them. So we're doing a double cheese on one and a single cheese on the other. Now we drop that copa, and if you remember, I mentioned earlier, it's going to end up acting almost like a little bit of a bacon, a little less salty, a little less crunchy, and actually a little thinner because of the way it was sliced. And now I'm going to drop this just into a broiler. You're not going to spend any real time. So that's the difference, folks, between the previous mushroom toast and this one. Couple of different ingredients, but for the most part, the difference is you're sauteing as opposed to roasting, and you're just going to finish off with a broil. It's going to take about 5 minutes with a broil. As you can see, everything looks and tastes better with chives, or at least that's how we feel in the house of Taylor. And I'm super excited to get the right turn, the right split. If y'all were here, we would be sharing this whenever I make it. And in this instance, we have 2 different types of Taylor's Kitchen mushroom toast. And look at that fun little splippity-doo, showing you the cheese wheel of love and fun stuff. And then we're going to drop a couple on the plate because my wife and I shared half each on this fine evening. And with that, I'd like to thank you very much for watching and remind you that here at Taylor's Kitchen, it's some cooking, comedy, and we're a kitchen on a mission. We've actually got these brand new towels that we've just had created with a logo design by my partner and former colleague. She's an amazing graphic designer, and as you can see, it's a beautiful towel. The next step for us is we're organizing a way for a portion of the sales of every one of these towels to feed those in need. Please stay tuned for updates and have a great day.